Hey guys, Cassandra Starseed, and this is Forbidden History, Episode 1. We're going to be talking about Hollow Earth and dumb bases and all of the missing people. And before you just shut off the video at any point, I'm going to say that this is going to be a super controversial video. It's going to have a lot of information, and part of the reason why I wanted to make this video is because there is so much flat earth ridiculousness perpetrating the entire internet right now. It's just ridiculous in my opinion. So, I actually have spent the last couple years really compiling a bit of scientific data on Hollow Earth and how it all works and stuff like that, plus a lot of archaeological data and different pictures that I'm going to splice in and stuff like that. So, we're going to get started. So where does the theory of Hollow Earth come from? Actually, the theory of Hollow Earth has been around for a very long time. And kind of dates back to all of the ancient peoples around the entire world. And that's kind of how this sort of brings many conspiracies together. People think of dumb bases and they see like pieces of the puzzle, but they don't understand how they fit together. So basically, you have all of these civilizations on Earth. They all have a different kind of creation story, but most of them came out of the Earth. So one of the things that I had spent a bit of time researching, and obviously reading to you guys as I have the Emerald Tablets playlist on this channel, I spent a lot of time thinking about, meditating on, researching the Emerald Tablets and the Halls of Amenti. So after a long time, it sort of became apparent to me that, the libraries and everything that they talk about, and the Halls of Amenti and the Halls of Knowledge, all of that stuff, I believe that it links up to Hollow Earth. And it seems like the Emerald Tablets are a sort of riddle to find your way in, if you ask me. So anyways, that's just one of them. There are supposed tunnels all over the planet, and interestingly enough, the creation stories for where the supposed places are link up interestingly enough. So anyways, one of the places I want to talk about was in Turkey, a site called Derinkuyu. So Derinkuyu is an ancient underground city possibly made to survive a global winter ice age, or possibly aerial enemies. It's really unclear. There are a lot of interesting things that go along with Derinkuyu. One of the things is the one-sided sliding opening doors that they have. They only open from the inside, so it's clear that it was to keep something out. The Ahura Mazda Vedic texts also talk about these aerial attacks. They talk about Vimanas, which are, it's kind of like a word for an ancient airplane for the gods. And the Galactic Wars. Derinkuyu also housed about 30,000 people. So it's possible that those two things are very correlated. I believe that they're probably covering it up, but that Derinkuyu probably links up to Hollow Earth as well. The American Southwest creation stories, they also believe that they came from underground. If you have seen Chariots of the Gods or read Chariots of the Gods, thinking about it in terms of all of that stuff and Hollow Earth gives it a really new meaning to like everything that he says. So many myths throughout history say that civilizations went under the earth to avoid catastrophes. Ecuador, Peru, and Bolivia have tunnel systems which go miles into the earth for hundreds of kilometers. American Southwest Indians have the same subterranean system of corridors, which apparently are linked to Mexico and allow societies to escape disasters and also meet secretly. South American legends call the beings from the underground the Atlans, and that's kind of a root word throughout different myths of Atlantis, isn't it? The Atlans are the Atlantis people. So there's also an Indian tribe on the Amazon who has blonde-haired and blue-eyed children, and they claim that their civilization lives inside the earth to this day, and they stem from the Europeans who, quote-unquote, came there at the end of World War II and only come out in their spacecraft. So that's kind of interesting. Also, the Bible talks about the 10 tribes of Israel coming out of a highway of ice in the center of the earth. The people in the center of the earth, the civilization, is kind of known throughout esoteric and different, we'll say, people talking about it as Asgard or Agartha. And so one of the foremost people to come forward with information and leak documents about Agartha was, of course, the Nazis. So the strange connection between Nazi Germany and Agartha. The Vril Society was kind of in charge of developing the supposed UFOs for Hitler. So we all know about Hitler's secret Nazi spacecrafts and stuff like that. That's all been declassified over the years. But the Vril Society was really in charge of doing that. And there's some interesting and controversial evidence about how they were getting their ideas for building these spacecraft. Some people say that it was because they had full access to a crashed German spaceship from 1936 in Freiburg, Germany. Some people say that it's because they were doing, say, rituals and communicating with beings from other places, possibly inside the Earth, possibly Aldebaran. So, anyways, during this time, the Nazis acquired land on the South Pole. In 1938 to 1939. And during that time, they also hunted down all of the secrets of ancient esoteric knowledge that they possibly could. They went to Tibet and all sorts of places trying to find the descendants of the people of Inner Earth and different entrances all over the world. I think that they were really trying to look for how to find and how to maintain control of probably all of the entrances. The Germans also had a story of a volcano, which is a secret entrance to Inner Earth, that some men went into and disappeared there, and reemerged 60 years later with absolutely no signs of aging. The Nazis were said to be using the Peru, Ecuador, and Bolivia tunnels, which they thought had the entrances to Inner Earth. It is also understood that the Nazi spacecraft relies on free tachyon energy, and some people believe that it was information channeled by Maria Orsic. She was a Vril Society member, and she channeled ET messages from Aldebaran, Taurus, and helped build Nazi spacecraft. She disappeared in 1945 along with Hitler, never to be seen again, and her last transmission simply said, "None shall stay here." So if you watched my last videos, I talked a little bit about how Hitler didn't really commit suicide, and a lot of the people that they said either committed suicide or died in prison really didn't. They had like scapegoats go in as those people, and basically the real people got away. So there's like a fleet of 100 submarines that went missing with the real Hitler and Maria Orsic and a bunch of scientists and doctors and other people. And so anyways, those people were actually seen in South America afterwards. And then so it is after that, they went, like I said in my last video, then we had Operation High Jump, where they the Nazis went to Antarctica, and then all sorts of different NATO forces, basically. They said Scandinavian, the United Kingdom, American forces all went together to basically combat the Nazi fleet in Antarctica during Operation High Jump. And basically, like, all in all, they lost. They had to retreat because of the underwater submarine, or not submarines, what do you call them? USOs. Yes, USOs. Unidentified submerged objects. Which, I mean, there's plenty of videos on YouTube. You can see tons of videos of those. That's really nothing new. But it was new back then. So anyways, they had to retreat, and then after that, basically they established some sort of peace treaty, apparently, with the Nazis, because they had Operation Paperclip happen. And there's also rumored to be a secret embassy in Washington, D.C. for New Schwabenland, which is, of course, the Nazi base in Antarctica. So, anyways, moving on. Perhaps the most blatant interference of a German connection with UFOs, though, comes from Billy Meyer case in Switzerland. In 1975, 30 years after the disappearance of the Vril Society leader, Maria Orsic, a Swiss farmer, claimed to have contact with a girl from the Pleiades who bore the pseudonym Samahace and had a striking resemblance to the Vrilian. So, from 1919. The space girl also wore long blonde hair and spoke fluent Austrian German and candidly shared comprehensive knowledge about the German saucer projects of World War II. So, that's kind of interesting if you weigh that all together and kind of put the pieces together. Also, the Venusian scout craft is quite similar to the idea of Vimanas. So that's kind of, insert two pictures here. But yes, so like I was saying, it was believed that Hitler did not commit suicide, went to Argentina, and then Antarctica. The Nazis had already bought land in the South Pole and established a base there in 1939 to 1940 called New Swabia. The lakes on Antarctica were found to have 18 degrees Celsius warmer freshwater, which channeled into the ocean through tunnels under the ice. It was the perfect paradise and opening to Hollow Earth, and this is why a whole fleet of 100 German submarines and scientists, including Maria Orsic, disappeared during World War II and were never seen again. So, Operation High Jump, 1946, the Navy tried to destroy the Nazi base. They were met with unheard of resistance, fighter jets, and reported flying saucers. Officers John Searson and Roger Byrd testified. A lot of people died. The pilots reported that the saucers came out of the water. The U.S. Navy eventually, after 20 minutes, fled, and Admiral Robert Byrd led the expedition. He had the memorable quote, which I wanted to insert here, that the Third World War would probably come from the polar region and have the ability to fly from pole to pole at will. Alright, and then I already covered the New Berlin Embassy and the secret floor, right. It is believed or rumored that the children of New Berlin and New Swabia are studied in all of the leading universities, and that they're quite interactive in some part of our society, at least in the sense that if you kind of research and look out and find, you'll see that there are a lot of like Air Force bases and small towns around Air Force bases that all deal with humanized aliens that already live on our Earth and stuff like that. So, yeah. And, Oh yes, the pole shift is what is believed to have sent Antarctica south and buried it in ice. It is also believed that when the poles flip again, we will see what Antarctica looks like not covered in ice. So a lot of people think that there are pyramids and other things there, and that would be very interesting. And I wanted to insert the Piri-Reis map here because it clearly plotted Antarctica accurately before it was covered in ice. Another thing to note is that planes can fly into the area of the North Pole, but they cannot fly over the actual poles. They are directed to go around them. There is actually a no-fly zone around the actual poles. No one is allowed to fly over them. So all pilots know this. The idea of a central sun is fairly consistent in hollow earth research. Especially in the age where we have found exoplanets which generate their own heat and do not orbit a sun. A central sun leads hollow earth believers to the idea that Agartha has no night as the central sun illuminates the inner earth. The physics of hollow earth. It really supports the whole idea that if you are interested in spirituality, you'll find out that the body has a toroidal flow. And the earth has the exact same thing, and that toroidal flow is exactly what makes hollow earth possible. The icebergs down in Antarctica are composed of fresh water, not salt water. Water at the poles is warmer than 600 miles away. That's kind of weird. According to Dr. Brooks, researcher since 2005, Cambridge University, 6,000 degrees Celsius, it is at the center of the Earth, the same temperature as the sun, interestingly enough. Harvard says that ancient continents under the crust of, there could be ancient continents under the crust of the Earth. There's another ocean underneath the Atlantic Ocean. Stanford says that the Earth was once smaller, the continental shelves were all linked together, and the Earth was less than half its current diameter. Mountain ranges are about 4.5 billion years old, but core samples from the bottom of the ocean taken only amount to a few million years old. Crust is still cracking open and filled with molten lava under the ocean. The plates are still expanding, cracking, and cooling. Crust is 800 to 900 miles thick. So basically what they're saying is that our Earth is actually growing. The Earth's surface seismographic readings show what are called shadow zones, and this is very interesting, where seismic readings disappear and then reappear later on. Scientists are baffled by this and continue to come up with ridiculous conclusions for it. Hollow Earth theorists speculate that halfway inside the Earth, gravity goes the other way, which causes the seismic waves to split. The magnetic field may be the result of hollow Earth because we have a core spinning one way and the crust spinning the other way, which is theorized may cause the magnetic fields of Earth. Other planets, like Mars, has no magnetosphere, possibly no solid core, and Pluto is probably hollow. Spectrometry readings show that the frequency of the core is pure iron crystal, 6,000 degrees Celsius. The Lagrange point between Earth and the center is 1,200 kilometers off reaching the exact point of the center, which actually indicates another landmass under the surface. The moon is clearly not moving because the same side faces us all the time. We're rotating and moving, but the moon is still a satellite. The moon is made of titanium aluminum, and the Earth is iron nickel. Moon capture theory is clearly discredited by this. The Earth capture theory seems to make more biblical sense. So what does this all have to do with missing people and dumb bases in national parks, you might be asking yourself? Well, I wanted to put some things together because it seems like no one else really has. Um, I'm going to put up these 3 maps, okay, after I'm done talking about this for a moment. Hollow Earth is accessible from dumb bases. Dumb bases are deep underground military bases. Some people thought they were for 2012 bunkers. They certainly are for when the surface Earth is ruined. They will be able to live under there just as they do now, and come and go as they please. But every year there are way too many people that go missing from state parks. And if you overlay a map of these state parks with a map of these dumb bases, okay, it becomes very evident to you that people who stumble on the truth or see things that they are not supposed to are clearly never seen again, okay? Maybe they join the Hollow Earth Society. Maybe they're killed. I don't know. But if you overlay a map of the reported Hollow Earth entrances over a map of dumb bases, they also match. Think about that.